Hey everyone, you're watching VGO 40 and this is VGO Girl, and today we are taking a look at World of Kings for the iPhone, and we are looking at the new dungeon, Rebirth Storm. Now, I honestly found this a lot easier than the last dungeon, which was Lost Forest. It just wasn't as confusing. There's a lot to Lost Forest going on, and this one just had some clean, simple mechanics that I'm sure I'm missing something, but it seemed like they were clean, easy mechanics. So I'm going to go ahead and explain to you what we saw on this first run through and kind of how we approached it, and hopefully it will help you. And if you see other stuff that we missed, definitely point it out, and we'll share it in the comments section. So first, go ahead and clear all the mobs on the way to the first boss. Now, the first boss wasn't all that different, honestly, from the original dungeon. He's going to do an area of effect where he kind of spins on his little turtle back. And I believe in the original dungeon, he did little puddles of fire. It's been a long time since I've actually done that dungeon. But he did the same thing here. Now, the only difference really is that when he creates these puddles of fire, here you can see the AoE that he does. He just spins on his back. You just move out of the way. These puddles of fire, so you can see one at the far side here. There is someone will get a red line attached to them, and you can see it right there where I was trying to figure out what was going on at first, but they've got a mob that follows them, and the mob has to walk through this fiery thing, and then it disappears. So the boss didn't actually need to go over towards there. I was just trying to figure out what was happening this first time. But so if you have that red line connected to you, it just walk that mob through the fiery puddle. Now, once he dies in the fiery puddle, he seems to turn into this blue flame thing. So you do have to kind of be aware of the room setup. I started off tanking towards the end of the room, and then once we had two flame sections over there, I moved towards the front area so that we had more room to maneuver. And that's it for the fight. That's it. There's nothing else really that I saw anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward, and you can see some of this as we go. Okay, I'm going to cut some of this fight out because honestly, you're not really here to watch the first boss. You're probably here wondering what the heck you're doing for the second boss. So we're going to go ahead and move on and see boss number 2. Okay, clear to boss number 2, and here we are at the second boss. So the mechanics for him, I actually found it best to tank right in the center here on top of this little like crest thing. And that's because he does this thing where there's these barrels that are summoned and you have to like kick them around. And if he's too far from this center area, it's really hard to hit him with the barrels. So it's easiest if you just stick him right in the middle and just tank him in there. I found that to be really simple then. It made this whole second fight a whole different thing. It was just so easy afterwards. Now, he's going to do a couple attacks. So this first one, you're going to want to avoid the exploding barrels. That's the same as in the first version of this dungeon. And so those go off. Now here's the good one. Okay, so there's barrels around him, 4 barrels around him. You only need to hit him with 1 barrel to interrupt the cast. So right below his name is a casting bar. Once you hit him with 1 barrel, you're good to go. You don't need to hit him with any others. However, it's not always that simple. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward through a lot of the fight. Same thing, just avoid the barrels that are exploding. And there's some little AoE things in the middle. Go ahead and move on to the next set of barrels. Now, here we are. Okay, so I'm skipping a little further ahead. In this set of barrels, I didn't see the shadow. So there's a shadow guy that spawns when he also is in the barrels. Now, this next one, we'll see him. And you'll see right in the middle, there's a shadow guy. And both him and the shadow guy need to be hit with the barrels. Now, once the shadow guy is hit right there, you'll see he disappears. And then the boss gets hit as well, and we move on with the fight. So it's important to look for that shadow guy. Now, if you don't look for that shadow guy, you will wipe the raid when he does this little like skull, like red circle, like area of effect. Otherwise, we had no problems with just, okay, it knocks you down in health and you move on. but if you don't get that shadow guy, it will kill you. Now moving right along, I'm going to skip through some of this. Same thing in the fight. I just wanted to point out two different things still in this fight. One is, don't assume that the shadow guy is always in the middle. Now I found several times he was in the middle, but here he's on the outside. So I had to run over to a barrel and kick it towards the guy in the back because he wasn't in the middle and the rest of the group didn't notice him standing back there. So always check around where you are to look for those shadow guys because they are sneaky. Okay, the second thing I want to point out with this particular boss and the barrels is don't always assume that there is just one shadow guy. Now, here he is in the middle, and we have a shadow guy right next to him, so we do what we do. We hit them both with barrels, and all is well. But if you look right in the back corner next to everybody's names, there's another shadow guy hiding back there that nobody noticed. There he exploded, wiped almost, I think he either wiped two guys or just killed one. And if we didn't have reses and if we weren't at the last like 1%, it could have wiped the whole group. But because we were right at the end, we managed it. But you have to watch for that second. Sometimes there could be two shadow guys. So just be really careful to make sure to check around you just in case there is more than one. Okay, other than the AoEs hitting a little harder for boss number 3, I didn't really find him super challenging or anything. I think that the thing is you just got to pay attention and move out of the AoEs, which you already know that. And the other thing is that, just it's going to be a long fight. Now, there's one mechanic that I noticed that was a little different from the original version of this dungeon, but it's not a hard one. Just like in some of the other dungeons where you get a line connected to you and somebody else has to stand in that line, the same thing happens here. One or sometimes two people will have a red line connected from them to like this little I guess demon-like mob. And when that happens, somebody needs to stand in that red line. That's it. Other than that, this fight is just avoid the AoEs and kill the boss. So it's actually really quite simple. It's just time consuming. So here the non-aligned teammates stop the inner demons. So you just have to all go and run into this red line, and when the demon thing hits you, it disappears and you're good to go. So it's really, really simple. I'll fast forward through some of this just so you can see some of it, but really that's all there is to this fight. It's just avoid the AoEs, interrupt some stuff, and stand in the lines. Okay, just another example of what to look for these little demon guys. Here the non-aligned teammates stop the inner demons, and here you can see we've got two lines that time, and people are going into the lines towards where the little demons are, and there they stop the demons. So again, I didn't see anything else as far as this fight goes, but it could have been more me because I was a tank. Sometimes DPS has some stuff that I don't notice in the back. So if you happen to see anything, just comment. Otherwise, you're watching VGO Girl, and this is VGO 40. And hopefully you found this helpful, and I think that this dungeon is probably going to be run a lot more than something like Lost Forest, just because it's easier. We'll see you in game.